Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm your host and CEO of VitalityOET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you go through so many changes in this time of your life, whether it be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or weight gain around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to your tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet this time it seems like nothing's really working, or maybe you start feeling worse, or the scale even starts going in the wrong direction. So you're putting in all this effort, yet not really getting the results like you used to. But we know now that your body is inherently different than when it was prior to you experiencing these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to help you understand what happens to your body in this time of your life, so you can finally reach those health and fitness goals, feel at home and in control of your body again, live a life full of vitality, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today, I'm going to be touching on a few different things, particularly as to why you aren't where you want to be yet. And this can be applied to nutrition, your health and fitness goals. It can be applied to relationships. It can be applied to career. It can be applied to anything. And these are concepts that I have kind of learned and gathered throughout my faith. This isn't going to be preachy or anything like that, so don't worry about that if this isn't your kind of jam. But a lot of these what do you want to call it? Principles, you can say, or these things that I'm going to be talking about are messages that I have received when watching sermons by Craig Rochelle from Life Church. He's amazing. He has a leadership podcast as well. But these are just bits and pieces that I have gathered along the way that I have really put into action in my life, which we are implementing in the lives of women that we work with. And it really does lead to change and to results and the things that you're looking for. And part of that's going to be consistency. But a real reason as to why you're not where you want to be yet is because you've been quote unquote trying instead of doing. So what does that really mean, Steph? Like, I'm trying, that doesn't make sense. Well, you're planning, you're researching, you're reading, you're watching, you're listening to podcasts, you're following along. And while those all have incredible intentions, and it's important to educate yourself, intentions do not equal results. Action equals results. In fact, there is a formula that I like to use that I've adapted from some of the sermons that I've watched and listened to myself. And it's that small decisions plus consistency plus time equals huge results. And you just need to start. You will get closer with messy action than no action at all. You act and you adjust. You perfect as you go along. There is no such thing as the perfect plan with the perfect action. You will get so much further with messy action than waiting and planning and never doing the things. So I want you to think about, like, I don't know, I'll give my business for an example. I was fired from my last job. I was. And people are like, whoa, Steph, what do you mean? I was working for a company as a personal training manager. They went above my head and changed a bunch of things in the department without consideration as to how that would affect our staff. They cut hours. They weren't getting paid for things they were doing before. And we had a great culture, a great, what do you call it? Like morale. You know, if I needed something and I was like, hey guys, we need help moving equipment because we've got a leak in the roof, I knew within 30 minutes, if my staff was available, they would be there. No questions asked. They wouldn't even assume they were being paid. Of course, I'd give them a little something, but you treat them well and make sure that they're valued and you communicate that and they'll bend over backwards for you. So when this company went behind my back and changed all these things, morale went down to the crapper. I stood up for my staff and I was fired the next day. And I knew that was coming. And I would do it again and again and again. But I was fired and I had no backup plan. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start my own thing. I had no idea what I was doing. I started my own business working as a manual osteopathic therapist. That's how Vitality first started. I was renting a room out of a multidisciplinary clinic and slowly built up my clientele. I had no idea about how to market online. I had no idea how to do taxes and how to bookkeep appropriately and learning different booking systems and how to keep things confidential so that like it was secure online and no one would be able to access anyone's information. I had no idea of these things, but I had no choice. I acted and perfected as I went, and then it grew and grew and grew. I opened a big clinic. I had staff working for me. I had a training studio. I had massage therapists working for me. I was booked 4 to 6 months in advance. It was incredible. And then the online coaching took off. I love it so much more. I can help so many more people. But I mean, everything I've done, there was no plan. There was okay, we're going to do this and we'll figure it out as we go along. I will act now messily as best as I can and just perfect and change as we go along. And that's what you need to do with all things. But we get so paralyzed with needing the perfect plan and needing to have everything, all our I's dotted and our T's crossed before even starting. Oh, I'll get a trainer once I get a little bit more fit. Oh, I will start changing my nutrition once things slow down. It never happens, right? You have to act and then perfect as you go, change as you go, adapt as you go, and you learn. And you're going to have failures and you're going to have setbacks, but you need to learn from them. Otherwise, you just keep repeating the same things over and over again, and that's not going to result in anything, right? So there are 3 rules or laws. Honestly, I put in a 4th one. So there's 4 as to what determines who you are and what you achieve. Okay, and this can be applied again to literally anything, but apply it to your nutrition and your health journey. So 1, you reap what you sow. If you don't like the results that you're getting, if you don't like where you're headed, you have to plant different seeds. Okay? 2, you always reap more than you sow. So you're planting one seed, that seed is going to grow into a tree with many fruit and many seeds. So what you do multiplies. 3, you reap after you sow. You don't plant a seed and get crops the next day. It's something that takes a long time. We need to make sure that we're tending to this garden and things like that. And then 4, you need to put effort in the right place. Okay, so you could plant a seed in some gravelly dirt and not really water it. Might not be the best conditions. That seed is probably not going to flourish into a nice big plant or a tree that's going to be fruitful and provide lots of crops for you, right? But if you're putting an effort of like you're weeding, you're making sure the soil is fertilized, you are taking care of it, protecting it from frost, those things, that effort in the right place is going to result in a fruitful harvest. And it's the same for everything. So if you're not where you want to be, fitness-wise, health-wise, physique-wise, you have to realize that if you keep doing the same things that you were doing and you're not getting the result that you want, why will that all of a sudden change? It won't. Okay, so if you don't like what you're getting, change what you're planting. You have to realize that whatever you're putting effort into, it multiplies. So by working out even just once or twice a week, you're going to see exponential benefits from that. Whereas if you're having cake every single day, everything you do multiplies. Negative thoughts, positive thoughts, effort and work, the way you show up, the way you talk to yourself and others, all those things multiply. Like think about having conversations with someone. Like Taylor and I, there's a Dollarama, a dollar store close to where we live. Well, not close, we live on a farm. So on the way out of the city. And we sometimes stop in there to grab little treats or things like that. And, you know, we see a lot of homeless people outside that store. So we will typically load up a bag of different groceries for them that we don't assume they have access to heat or anything. So we make sure there's healthy options in there, but also some treats in there. And we will always drop them off, ask them what their name is, chat with them a bit. And that kind of stuff multiplies. You know, you do that and then someone else sees and then they start giving. Or, you know, that person, you can see it's a life-changing thing for them. I had an experience where I did this and there was 3 of them outside and I got them each their own grocery bag of like $20 worth of stuff. But to them, that's a big deal. And the 2 were super grateful and super chatty and super happy. And the other one was so confused, was so like hesitant to take the bag from me. And I was like, here you go. Like, I hope you have a great day. Like chatted up a little bit. And like, he was like, you could tell he was like shocked and didn't really understand. But like little things like that multiply, you know? So other people see you doing it, or they start having a change in the way they view people and their circumstances or things like that. So you have to realize that everything that you do multiplies, but you have to put effort in the right place. And unfortunately, a lot of us, especially nutrition and fitness wise, we're not putting our effort in the right place. If you listen to any of the podcasts that I've been putting out and the content that I put out, you're cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio and go. And that's not putting effort in the right place. And you keep doing that over and over and over again. You're reaping this, you're sowing the same seeds and getting the same results, but you're not willing to change what you're sowing to get different results. And that's really important to be aware of. And it's important to note too that your true change is going to be a soul and personal transformation. It's a part of your identity. And you do, and this is something that Craig Groeschel said, was you do what you do because of what you think of you. So let me say that again. You do what you do because of what you think of you. So subconsciously, this is kind of what happens with any kind of decision-making situation that you have. You assess the situation. This happens subconsciously, like you might not even be aware you're doing this, but you assess the situation and then you think, what would a person like myself do in a situation like this? And you act based on that, but it's very subconscious. So as you can see, you are acting in the way that you think a person like you would act in that situation. So how do you change your actions? You change what you think of yourself, because if you think of yourself as someone who is XYZ, that person's going to act differently than someone that's ABC, right? So that's how you really change your actions, because the way that you act determines your direction. And there's no such thing as standing still. There's moving forward or moving backwards. You're moving closer to your goal or further away from your goal. And don't think of the goal as like your absolute end fitness physique. Think of it as the person that you are becoming who has that. A person who is fit, who is healthy, who has good energy, has great relationships with food and people, has good self-positive talk. Are the actions you are doing today getting you closer to becoming that person or further away? Okay? Because like with all of this, you have to be aware that the sum of your decisions and your actions up until this point are what move you in the trajectory that you're in. So how do we start moving in that right direction? Because it is hard to just get going or to stick with it, right? How do you change actions? Because I have all the best intentions, right? I hear this all the time. I have all the best intentions. I want this so badly, but I just cannot seem to follow through. Well, you have to change what you think of you. Like I said, right? You do what you do because of what you think of you. So this is your identity. It's who you are. So how do we change what we think about ourselves? How do we change our identity? That's such a tough thing, because it's hard to think you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm this person. No, you have to do things to prove to yourself that you're that person. That's how you build confidence. You do the things that you say that you're going to do. And that slowly becomes your identity. Your identity is the sum of your actions and decisions up until this point. So it's going to take time to build that up. And we do that through habits. So, okay, sure, I've heard about habits before, but how do you really build a habit? By doing, by acting, by doing the things, by casting a vote and creating proof that you are, in fact, that new person. And that is going to take consistency. You're not going to eat one salad and be like, yes, I'm a person who eats vegetables. I'm a person who's healthy. It's going to take time because you have a lot of votes in the other direction, right? Where maybe you weren't casting votes for someone who's healthy and fit and emotionally resilient and has great relationships with food. It's going to take time for those ballots to add up over time. Okay. So to build up this consistency, and I know that's like something that's kind of boring to talk about, but the first thing is stop trying and start training. This is an analogy that Craig used, and I loved it because like the personal trainer in me loves this, right? Trying tells me that you will give up when things get hard or you just don't feel like doing it anymore because you're trying. It's just merely an attempt with minimal commitment. You're not truly committed to it. You're just hoping that it's somehow going to happen, right? And you've already given yourself permission to fail. Okay, so when you say, oh, I'm trying to eat more protein or I'm trying to eat more food, are you actually eating more food? Or are you just saying you're trying and then when you don't reach those goals, you're like, I tried. You're already giving yourself an out. Whereas training is a wholehearted commitment to achieving your goals and becoming this new person. It is purposeful action, and you are practicing. You are developing skills, and you show up when you fail and fall off track, not if you fail, because falling off the wagon and falling off track is inevitable. So you know that when you fall off that horse, you are going to get back on. So stop trying and just start training. There's a very big difference there. Like for me, was I trying to build a business? Yes, but I was doing the things every day where I'd get a new client when I started my clinic after I got fired. I was posting in Facebook communities, sharing that a new clinic had opened. I was asking for the referrals. I was really getting good at my craft of manual osteopathic therapy to get the results from clients who then would refer people to me. I was training to be an incredible practitioner, to build up a business because I was good at what I do. But that took practice. That took consistency. It didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of time. I used to travel to rural communities just to make ends meet at first. I would drive 2 hours from the city that I lived in to go to another community to get more practice, to have different clientele, to get more exposure. I did it at a very, very, very reduced rate. I was charging like $40 per session back then, when the average manual osteopathic therapist charges anywhere from $130 to $200 for a session. But it was working and practicing to do that. I wasn't just trying. I was training to be a great practitioner and have a great business. And health and fitness is no different. It takes practice. And that's what this is. You're training to become this healthier version of you who understands food, who understands your body, who understands what you need to be successful, to feel good, to be back in control, and realize that it's not going to happen overnight. So I know that sounds super inspirational and very woo-woo, but practically, what does that actually look like? It's a great theory, right? But how? So let's go back to that formula I talked about first. So small, smart decisions plus consistency plus time equals great results. Okay? So the less consistent that we are, the longer we delay making decisions, the longer time has to be in order to reach those results. Because if we're not making decisions, that number gets smaller. If we're not consistent, that number gets smaller. So that number of time has to increase a ton in order for us to get that result. Whereas if we start making more decisions now and actually acting on them and being consistent on them, our timeline decreases substantially to get that result. So we talk about making the right decision. Change what you think of you. right? You are what you repeat to yourself. So what are those things that you tell yourself on a regular basis? You have to believe that you're actually capable of this, that you are capable of change, that you can do it. We always say, I am a workaholic instead of I have a tendency to be a workaholic. I am a people pleaser instead of I have a tendency to people please. I am a emotional eater instead of I have a tendency to emotional eat. When you put the word tendency in there, it tells you that that is a more it can change. It's not a permanent thing. When you say I am a blank, that's very written in stone, very firm kind of phrase. Whereas if you say I have a tendency to, that says yeah, sometimes I make that decision, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm not that way. It leaves room for opportunity, which is really important. So make sure you're casting votes in the person that you want to be. Okay? So how do we make sure that we are consistently making the right choices? This is really hard, especially when things come up. We have family emergencies, we have sickness, we have kids, vacations, work, stress, finances, or maybe you just don't want to do it today. How do you stay consistent? Consistency has the potential to change your life and impact you and your future success more than anything else. I swear it does. And developing consistency will help you when things get tough and we simply don't want to, we don't feel like it. This is how you build a solid foundation that will not waver. And that is so important. Practice is going to be key and you cannot rush this. Think of developing any other kind of skill. What would you tell your kids? Your son wants to go be really good at hockey. First, you need to learn how to skate. Then they need to learn how to stick handle, have eye coordination, learn how to pass the puck, build up the strength to shoot, right? They're not you're not going to expect them to be incredible hockey players the first time they step on the ice. You know that there is a very long journey for them to become the star that they are trying to become, right? And if your son comes to you and is upset about this, what are you going to say? Oh, no, just quit, then you'll never get there kind of thing, whatever. No, you're going to tell them you need to practice. It's going to take time. You're going to have to get stronger. You're going to have to do X, Y, Z and this and that. And you're going to encourage them that when they do fail or they miss a shot or they miss an important pass or whatever it is, you're going to tell them they just need to practice, right? And that they will get better and they'll learn from that and it's not going to happen again. But when it comes to us, we seem to think that that doesn't apply to us, right? We seem to think that we should be able to get it right away. And if it doesn't come easily, then it's not worth doing. Is that a message that you would want your kids to follow? Probably not. So other things that can be helpful is to really focus on your why. And this will help you with your consistency. You are devoted to the process and the goals when you have a strong why. If the why is important to you, you will do it. And honestly, if it's not that important, you won't stick to it. And it's clearly not important enough whether you would have started already, which I know feels really crappy to hear. But if it truly was as important as you say it was, you would have started already. You would have. I have women that come and talk to me every single day, asking for their nutrition outlines, asking how much they should be eating, what should activity look like. And I tell them exactly what they need, but they haven't figured out why it's important to them yet. And that's why they haven't started. Or they're waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, feeling confident enough to do it. That never comes. So the reason that you haven't started or you're not consistent is simply because it's not important enough to you. And that's not to say that it isn't, because maybe you've tried other things, right? So I'm not saying this is for everyone, but you need to realize, why are you actually doing this? Why is it a priority? Because if it's not a priority, you just won't do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. If it's not, and it's just I just want to look better, but I've got other things that are more important, that's fine. There is nothing wrong with that, but you have to realize that and you have to be okay with that. You just have to acknowledge that and be at peace with it. I don't care. That's a you decision. So when things get tough and motivation wavers, it is much easier to be consistent if you have a solid why. It will help you persevere. And when your values are clear, decisions are easy. And I say this time and time and time again. When your values are clear, your decisions are easy. They're easy. Because if you know what actually matters to you, if you know what you value, if you know what is a priority, it's easy to say yes or no. It is. And maybe sometimes it's you would rather just have a couple drinks with the girlfriends and screw at your diet. Okay, that's fine. That was more important to you. Then there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to be okay with that. You need to be able to accept that choice. It's nobody else's fault but your own. You can't blame your girlfriends for wanting to go out, because I go out with girlfriends. You know what I have? I have water. I don't care. Alcohol doesn't serve me. I very rarely ever drink. It's not something that I enjoy. I'd rather eat my calories. I enjoy the socialization and bonding. I'm a very social person. But I know what's important to me, and alcohol doesn't make me feel good. I feel bloated. My stress tolerance is crap. So for me, alcohol I don't value it. It's not important. And for me, that's an easy yes or no. So when your values are clear, decisions are easy. Okay? The next one is plan to fail. No one is perfect. Do not fall into that all or nothing mindset so many women fall into. Consistency is not the same as being perfect. Consistency is not the same as being perfect. When you slip up, not if, because it will happen, when you slip up, the most important part is just to get back on track and not let it snowball. Don't let it happen 2 times in a row. Try lowering the bar. Make it simple. Make it small. Half the time people let the illusion of being perfect and having all these huge things they have to achieve and do on a regular basis stops them from even starting, because it's overwhelming. You mean I have to drink water and I have to have this many veggies and I have to have this much protein and this much calories and I have to do this kind of exercise and I have to prioritize my sleep and I'm supposed to have a morning routine apparently and I'm supposed to do these hot, cold shower bath things and I'm supposed to meditate and yada, yada, yada. Of course you're not going to start. That's insane. And if you are making yourself have all these unrealistic expectations and all these things to do, you're going to fail. It's inevitable. But you have to get back on. So pick 1 or 2 things. Just start with protein at every meal and make sure you're having breakfast. Boom, done. Conquer that for a month and then add something else. It doesn't have to be this crazy expectation of crazy perfection. No one becomes like this whole brand new person in one day. That's not realistic. And lastly, you want to fall in love with the process. Stop obsessing over your end goal. You feel like a failure every single time you do that. Every time you wake up, you're like, I haven't lost my 10 pounds yet. I haven't lost my 10 pounds yet. I haven't lost my 10 pounds yet. Tell me what that's doing for your mental health. How is that supposed to make you feel motivated to keep going? It's not. So focus on what you're doing on a day-to-day. Are you being present? Are you here in the now? Are you enjoying what you're doing? If you're not enjoying what you're doing, what the heck are you doing? Why are you doing it? If you don't enjoy the food that you're eating, why? I don't believe in eating food that's disgusting. If I don't like the way it tastes, I'm not eating it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to enjoy the process. Otherwise, you will not stick to it. So make sure that your actions are aligning with your values and who you want to be. And acknowledge that you aren't where you want to be yet. And that is okay. In fact, it's kind of exciting. You have so many opportunities ahead of you, and there's so many options as to who you can be. And that's pretty exciting. There was an incredible speech by Matthew McConaughey, and he said that his hero is the person that he is 10 years from now. He's constantly striving to grow and to learn and to become a better human every day in all aspects of his life. And that is something pretty damn incredible. So why can't you apply that to you and your health, your fitness, all the goals that you have? Like, I look back 10 years from now and I think of where I was, and I would have never dreamed that I would be where I am right now. At all. And I didn't even know this is who I wanted to be yet. Just every day I kind of made decisions on getting closer to a life that I wanted, being around people that I wanted, doing the things that I loved, helping people and being passionate and getting to follow that through. That's really exciting. Like, maybe even just 5 years from now. Like, I look back 5 years from now and it's like, I was working at a job I freaking hated. I was working for the health region and fighting against health politics and being so upset with the system and how it was treating people. And now I get to help people in a real way. If I can do that, you can change the person that you are and reach the health and fitness goals and be happy and feel good again. But we set these unrealistic timelines and overwhelm ourselves and don't understand, why are we doing it? Why is it important? What are our values? And I think that's huge to understand. And I know this was a very inspirational woo-woo kind of thing, but this stuff really matters. So in summary, what you need to really understand is small, smart decisions plus consistency plus time equals huge results. And if you're not making decisions, you need more consistency and time. If you're not making decisions, you're just waiting, and you're not consistent with anything, you have a lot of time before you get to those results. Remember that you reap what you sow. If you don't like what you're sowing and harvesting, you need to plant something else. You're going to reap more than you sow. So be aware that everything you do multiplies. You need to be aware that you reap after you sow. So there's going to be a time period before you get to those results. You have to be patient for that harvest. You don't plant a seed and it pops up the next day. That takes time. And you need to put effort in the right place, because if you're constantly putting in effort, but if you're putting it in the wrong place, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to end up exhausted. You're going to end up frustrated and overwhelmed, and that sucks. We've all been there. And lastly, you do what you think because of you. You assess the situation and you think to yourself, what would a person like me do in a situation like this? And then you act. So you need to change what you think of yourself. You need to make sure that your values are clear, because it makes decisions so much easier. What do you actually value? What's important? And what do you prioritize? Make sure you're training instead of trying. We're not trying anymore. We're doing. Okay, we're acting. Determine that why, plan to fail, and enjoy the damn process, because the time is going to pass anyways. A lot of us have been digging the hole in the wrong direction. It's going to take time to climb out of it and then to start seeing results. So you may as well enjoy what you're doing. Love the life that you're living. You are allowed to love yourself and still want to change. And that's okay. You don't have to love every single aspect of yourself. There can be things that you want to change, but it's okay to love and like yourself and want to improve. That's a good sign, and that's healthy, that we're always trying to improve ourselves. But if you're not happy and you don't know what's important to you and you don't know why that's important to you, you are always going to struggle. I hope this was a good one, you guys. I know this is very different than what I usually talk about, but this is stuff I'm very passionate about, and I'm sure many of you can tell. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.